It may not have been the script that any culé thought that the Femení would be following, but the Barcelona Femení are champions of Europe again for the second time in their history. If you're new to the Femení beat, welcome. This is the perfect time to jump on. And if you're new to my content, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like and all that stuff, because let's not waste any more time. Here are the three headlines from Barcelona's 3-2 victory over Wolfsburg in the Champions League final. Headline 1 is recipe to beat Barcelona. Wolfsburg, credit to them, came in with a plan, and just like Lyon with a year before, they smacked Barcelona right in the mouth in the first 5 minutes of the game, scoring first and putting Barcelona on the back heel. And it wasn't necessarily a credit to Wolfsburg as much as it was Lucy Bronze, who was just coming back, not entirely fit. Well, maybe she was, but she certainly wasn't between the ears. Gives it away in a bad spot to Payo, so 3 minutes in, Barcelona are down 1-0. But Barcelona had the majority of the chances in that first half. They could have equalized on the Paredes missed header off the corner. It doesn't happen. Along with Caroline Graham-Hansen whiffing on a great cross from Mappy Lyon midway through that first. But then, against the run of play, again, Wolfsburg smacks Barcelona right in the mouth in that first half, coming from a throw-in in their own first half. So once again, Barcelona not set up to deal with the pressure and the intensity of that Wolfsburg counterattack. Payo, it was a cross into Pop, clinical header, easy as you like, and credit to Pop, leaving no doubt Panos couldn't do anything about either of those goals. At that point, it did feel 100% like it was going to be a repeat of last season. Wolfsburg, like Lyon, are historically top side in women's football. Barcelona, not say late to the party, but they're new money in the way that Wolfsburg and Lyon are old money in the last decade plus of women's football. They have built something, and while they have not won the Champions League since 2014, Wolfsburg at that point felt like, hey, we have been here, even if it's not the players on the field. This club has been here before, and like Lyon before them, Barcelona will wilt under this pressure. That's what Wolfsburg might have been thinking, but that's not what the stats said at all. Just like that game when Barcelona in the Champions League quarterfinals snuck by Roma, the stats said Barcelona should have been all over Wolfsburg, and they were. They had more than a 2.7 XG in that first half, while Wolfsburg had an 0.3 and 2 goals from it. Right before halftime, Patri Guijarro had a chance to get one back on a little nice 1-2 with Bronze right in the middle of the field, but then after the miss, you got the sense that Wolfsburg had the recipe to beat Barcelona. Allow them to take a ton of shots, and then eventually they will leave holes at the back by pushing players forward, and that's when you strike on the counterattack, especially if you get that first early goal. We've seen that when other teams do score against Barcelona first, those are the matches where they really struggle. Headline 2 is history in a comeback. There was a nervy halftime, and I think, again, online, there's a lot of people that probably have to apologize because I think there was a bit of an overreaction after that first half. The stats said one thing, but I think people just believed that Barcelona didn't have the mentality to come back with it. But I think a lot of people confuse the men's team with the Femení because what the Femení have been over the last few seasons, I know they didn't beat Lyon in the Champions League final last year, but this team, more than any other, as Ines and I have said, they're inevitable is the way I say it, but Ines said it better on the latest podcast, and that was ruthless. That is what they were. And the minute that first goal goes in, CGH against her former team skates by 3, finds Patri. With still a bit left to do on that first goal, but Patri finishes. And at that moment, you saw that the switch was completely flipped. This team smelled blood in the water at that moment, even down by 1. That's why just about a minute later, they score again, the equalizer. Simple stuff. Aitana goes out wide this time. A fake gets the defender flying, and the cross into an unmarked Patri for the open header, or shoulder we should say. Either way, Patri on back-to-back late runs into the box. Barcelona stick to their system. They played with a false 9. Patri Guijarro is not a traditional 9. They played with a bit of a false 9 throughout that entire game. And Wolfsburg knew what Barcelona wanted to do, but Barcelona, because they're the better team, if they executed, they were going to win this game. And once that first goal went in, even though they were still down, as I said, 2-1, the second goal, I think, reminded everybody in that stadium especially, and those at home, that they were the better team. They just have to figure out how to get it done. That's not to say Wolfsburg were completely out of the match at that point. Jones Adir against Rolfo, though, on the right was a bit surprising throughout that match. I thought she'd be on the left, and I think that took out one of the more important players in the entire campaign for Wolfsburg, but that did create a lot of space for Pop and Payo, who could have won that match for Wolfsburg. 69th minute, Paño save on Payo. Bronze was dispossessed again, and Wolfsburg broke out as a 4-on-3, and Payo went with the shot. But Barcelona were the first to blink when it came to the subs, and I think that's what wound up closing out this match. They didn't really change the game with their subs until the last 10 minutes of the contest. But 70th minute for Barcelona, here comes JC on for Patri Guijarro, and she had legs and speed to burn, and Wolfsburg, let's say, weren't ready for her intensity. Seconds later, After that substitution, Wolfsburg can't clear their lines and Barca get the go-ahead and winning goal. Mariona crashing to the center, Wolfsburg with a rough mishit. Patri pokes it over to Rolfo and she finishes against her own club for the winner in the Champions League final. As I just said about the subs, 79th minute, Barcelona then had to close it out, figure out how they were going to do that. Well, that's to play the same way that they've been playing. Mariona and CGH out for Pina and Sonagurcevic. Sonagurcevic can play at left back, at right back, on the right wing, wherever. She goes in on the right wing for CGH with that defensive mindset that she has, while Pina does play in the false nine. She's probably a better fit there than Mariona was, as she had just moved over with JC coming on. And as I said, it was another few minutes before Wolfsburg even made their subs to try to change the game. I think they waited way too long to do that. And finally, headline 3, European glory without perfection. 89th minute, here comes Alexia Putellas. I mean, it felt like the fans wanted it. She was warming up most of that second half, along with Ingrid Engen against her own team. And yeah, it was warm and fuzzies. It felt good to see Alexia Putellas, the captain of this team, being able to see this game out. But if you felt like it was just 2 or 3 minutes, no, she went in the game with the understanding that there was going to be a lot of stoppage time. And there was. 7 minutes, Culés were made to sweat. But Barcelona just cleared their lines, took care of business, and got it done. And you know, moving forward, as I've kind of been warning in the women's game, if you look at the way that PSG and Bayern Munich in particular, yeah, Chelsea and Barcelona I think are in the kind of the same class that they've been rising in the last 5 or 6 seasons. And I said Lyon, Wolfsburg before them. Man City, I think, around that Barcelona rise. Man United, new to the party. Arsenal the last 5, 6 years. There's a lot of different teams now in women's football that can't capture this Champions League trophy. And here on out, instead of saying that, oh, Barcelona, they weren't perfect, they didn't win the treble, and this side was clearly worse than the one that won the treble. But I actually think that it was everybody else in women's football, even Roma and Real Madrid, all those big names and big teams, the big clubs are putting investments in their women's programs, and they're catching up. So while 2 trophies in 3 years isn't necessarily a dynasty, if Barcelona wants that dynasty and gets another trophy in the next year or 2, that would be 3 and 5 or even 3 and 4. I think that's fair enough to call it a dynasty, but that third one is going to be harder, I think, much harder than the first 2. And the positive of that from this match is now Barcelona really do have the template on how to do that. Even though teams know how to play them, they know that they don't have to be perfect to get it done. They don't have to be this juggernaut and roll over their opposition to get it done the way Lyon did a decade ago. Women's football is tough now. It's okay to win a title getting punched in the mouth as long as you punch back. And this Barça Femení team, they're ruthless and their mentality is that of champions. They have shown that all season long, even in defeat, even when knocked out, even playing the Champions League final coming off a loss in league, their first in the league season. They still have the mentality to get it done. Campeones of Europe, the Femení, let's celebrate it. The men finish up their season tomorrow, so I've got plenty of content still coming. But for now, soak it in that there is a European Cup returning to Barcelona after all. And as always, until next time, Forza Barça.